allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Chisel.
Here.
Bell Richard.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Luce.
Here.
Bergen.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Super. Thank you for speaking into your microphone. I'll try and encourage you to do that. Approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Bergen.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Bell Richard.
Aye.
Under public comment, first we have Nikki Brevik, which it's fun to see her face again, from Riverview. Right up.
Thank you very much.
Tap the end. No, just tap and see if it's working.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. Thank you.
So I am Nikki Brevig. I'm a sexual assault therapist with Riverview Agency, so a different role than I used to be in. And I am here to actually basically proclaim April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the community of Decorah. So we have created a proclamation which says that sexual assault affects women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and ethnic backgrounds. And in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, sexual assault may also have associated consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, eating disorder, and suicide. And sexual assault is devastating not only to the survivor, but also for the family and friends of the victim or survivors. And since no person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, we must work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support victims, survivors, and their families, as well as support those agencies providing services to victims and survivors. And so we ask that the community of Decorah support this proclamation and support Sexual Assault Awareness Month for us.
And I did support it by signing the proclamation prior to the meeting.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the work, and it's nice to see you again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak or present or talk to the City Council and it's not on the agenda? Not seeing any. The consent agenda.
Consent agenda consists of the minutes of the March 4, 2019 meeting, claims, resolution 2947, setting a public hearing for the fiscal 19 budget amendment, May 6, 2019 at 5:45 p.m. Consider special event permit for the Decorah Pride Community Committee event on Water Street, Saturday, May 11th, 2019. The parade from 2 to 2:30 and the event in the lower parking lot until 7 p.m. And renew Class C liquor license for Haymarket, including Sunday sales.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I think you meant to say March 18th meeting minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? Conversation? Roll call?
Hadley.
Aye.
Bell Richard.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bergen.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Consider Resolution 2946, setting a public hearing for a proposal development agreement with Ridge Development Company, LLC, Decorah Development, LLC, including annual appropriation tax increment payments.
Mayor, I have a little bit of background in my notes regarding this. Of course, this is a development agreement proposed with the developers of the Quillen's Box. Some of the metrics are outlined in my background notes. I would ask that the council consider setting that for May 6, 2019 at 5:45 p.m., just to allow for some additional time in negotiating that development agreement.
That's in relation, in difference between the April 15th meeting, correct?
Right.
I'd move for approval of Resolution 2946 with the date of May 6, 2019. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Chisholm.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Bergen.
Aye.
Bell Richard.
Aye.
Carlson. Luce.
Aye.
Motion passed. Consider administrative policy number 19-01, a flag display policy. Can you give the background on that? Chad?
Yeah, so it's an administrative policy that I've drafted. Actually, it's kind of been floating around for a while, maybe since last year's Community Pride event, and tries to outline the context under which at least special event and community flags may be flown in the community on public flagpoles or in public right-of-way. It's not usual and customary that administrative policies are brought before the council, but from time to time, given the subject matter, they are. Case in point, the sidewalk policy, and before that, the media notification policies were brought to the council for discussion and concurrence. This policy, because of the nature of the issue at hand, felt that it was appropriate to bring this one for some council input and consideration as well. So, working with staff, Johanna, the mayor, we present this, and Jeremy, we present this outline, again, at least looking at the community-oriented and special interest flags. The Luther College and Decorah High School flags had been in policies similar to this for a couple of years. So we're really just amending at least for the community-oriented and special interest flags. So I would ask if the council has any comments or questions on information presented, and we'll start the discussion there.
I do have one for our attorney. Does this open us up to anybody that wants to come in if we set a precedent?
Well, I think we talked about this last year. I think the city council needs to come up with a single policy for evaluating requests from the public. It does open you up, but the Supreme Court has allowed city governments to control their own speech, even if it's from a private group. The problem is there's no real strong, coherent test about what is government speech. So there's, yes, the potential. The way the law stands today, the city can, if the city basically adopts the message as its own, it can discriminate. I mean, the government can speak for itself. But that's as the law stands today, and First Amendment is one of the areas that there's always challenges going on, and it's somewhat in flux. And I would expect the current Supreme Court cases that do pretty much allow the government to pick and choose what speech it adopts as its own is going to be challenged. So there's always a potential for challenge here.
But it comes in, it's included in special events. That's where the flag, that they had special events, it would come before the special events request.
Well, that's one of the criteria that I would propose, and that we talked about in our group, is that to more align them with community activities, we make it a component of our special event application process, which currently is, folks can pull down that special event application from the city website or ask for a copy at City Hall. They fill it out with information relevant to their event, whether they're asking for a street to be closed, use of a park space. We would propose including, displaying flags, and that is reviewed in the normal course, like special event applications today, like the one you just approved in the consent agenda comes before you, so there would be a flag component to that. The policy does go further to kind of restrict their locations, not on U.S. flagpoles, for example, owned by the public, limiting them to, this is some of the red the red line area, either just on Water Street or just in the block of Water Street where the event might be taking place, if it's a Water Street-oriented event, or limiting them to just the temporary flagpoles that we have in the ground out in front of City Hall and near the sidewalk, the main entrance.
And we've had those poles, and they would be ready for the upcoming event. We will put those poles in, be flown and...
Yeah, there's standards already set there for that, so that's a pretty easy maneuver.
So can you clarify for me on page 3 of the policy, number 4, it says flags will be flown on Water Street light posts with brackets only, and then what you have in red in parentheses, or alternatively flags to be flown only in the 1 block area of the special event. Is that a suggested change, or would all of that text be in the proposed policy? And exactly what does that, because I read that.
Those are options.
Those are options.
Right, so right now, maybe the distinction is what you're seeing up above, Dan, is with the school district flags. And that item number 4 says those flags, because it's under that heading, would be flown on Water Street light posts with brackets only, meaning only those, I guess that's poorly worded, but only those light posts that have brackets, right? We're not going to install new brackets. We're not going to hang them in different ways.
Right.
Only those light posts that have brackets. Contrary-wise, under community-oriented and special interest flags, item number 4, either flags would be flown on Water Street light posts with brackets similar to above, or flags to be flown only in the 1 block area of the special event.
And so I'm clear, that's a choice that we're making now.
I'm asking you to decide.
Not the
No.
applicant when they...
No, I'm asking you to decide and define that by policy.
Okay.
Or at least provide some input.
This should have probably been discussed in the Community Betterment Committee.
I'm sorry, Randy, I couldn't hear you.
This should have been discussed and ironed out a little bit better in the Betterment Committee, I would think, rather than here.
And that the folks that were interested in weighing in on the policy included the HRC, which is where the bulk of the initial work from last year to now came. And the questions that remained from it primarily were like a burden on staff time versus direction of council. And I mean, we can have more committee meetings. But I think, we had a pretty robust discussion about this a year ago, and the changes that are in the policy now really stem from that discussion. I don't feel like there's been additional input from that.
So are you saying from that discussion came the text in red under the community-oriented special interest flags?
The text in red came specifically from a staff question about the burden, the time burden of putting the flags up. And so it was, if I'm not misconstruing, what I took away from that conversation was when you lay out the full policy, including our MOUs with Luther, with Decorah High School, and our use of the American flags, we fly flags quite a bit. And so when you laid it all out, it made sense to ask the question of how much, at what point does it become too much? And so out of that concern stemmed like an offering of what if the special events were limited to the space the event was being held.
For example, last year during Santa Mai, we only raised the Norwegian flag in that block of Water Street in front of the Vesterheim, and that seemed to work really well. It saved that staff time. It's taken 2 guys 3-4 hours to put them up and take them down, and we do have a pretty hefty list of flags here, so we're just trying to conserve that a little bit.
And just so I'm clear, you're saying you want it contingent, the flag policy, on having it go through the special event process, clear it there, and then it would...
I think there's merit to put it in that special event application process.
Okay.
And I don't know if it necessarily gets to a free speech or constitutional amendment aspect, but I think it takes it through another level of review and formalization when you make it part of the process that you already have in place, versus just groups coming in at random at different times, making requests without a framework and those types of things, right?
And it makes it a la carte, right?
Yes, yeah. And there was quite a bit of discussion, so in community-oriented and special interest flags, section 5, HRC and also here at the council table, there was a lot of discussion about how do we connect the flags we fly to the values that we hold. And because we have a process of improving events that make use of public space and public utilities, it makes sense to add this as a part of that instead of treating it differently.
Randy, was there something in particular that sort of
Well, I just,
stands out to you?
like as John said, you know, we don't know if we're opening ourselves up. You know, it might be right, but how much are we going to spend defending it? You know, I don't like the fact that, you know, this wasn't even brought into a committee to, you know, bring it, whatever you got from the HRC, but bring it back and finalize it so we can get a final copy to look at, rather than trying to pull everything together here. You know, what we had in the policy was very good because it recognized our nonprofits and their events throughout our community. And, you know, now we're asking for more of our street time when we've already got thousands of potholes that hopped up this year. We didn't get our painting done last year because of bad weather, so we're behind on that already this year. You know, we're just throwing more stuff at the guys, and without any real solid moving forward. This is a knee-jerk to a group. But what if we get a group that comes in that people don't agree with?
But that, from what I understand, that would be covered under this special event, correct?
Yes, but would we be opening ourselves up to possible litigation?
But why would that be any different than a special event of any sort? Right? I mean, the current policy, the current special event policy would have that same litmus test for a street closure, for a gathering. What we're really getting here is, do you want them to fly flags in one block, or do you want to fly flags on 2 flagpoles? That's the decision you have to make. We don't have to debate. We don't have to debate the ethics or the morals of an event, because we already have an event policy, right?
Right.
We do, but
It's
my
also-
question is, one question I have is on the special events, does usually the city council state, does it come before the city council
Yes.
for special events? So it would be coming before the city council.
If we add that component to the special events.
But I think that's what
they're saying.
they're saying. Now, if,
The other thing I'm trying to bring into the mix too, regardless of the newer events and flags that we're seeing, are the ones that aren't spoken of here, namely the United Way flags. You know, those just kind of get put up and taken down, but we don't have a schedule or an approval process. And then the Nordic Fest flags. Yes, we have a special event application for Nordic Fest, and it outlines a lot of things. Doesn't talk about the flags. Again, that's a 52-year history, but it's not spelled out or defined how that happens, when it happens, who does it, that type of thing. So I think even though, you know, we have a specific request in front of the council for the Pride event, what about those other events also that we've been doing that aren't defined?
because I think when the discussion was being conscious of the time for flags being put up and taken down, and storage and such forth. You know, it's only a suggestion that for council action, but it certainly could go to the Betterment Committee for more discussion if the council feels like it needs more discussion.
Chad, did staff have any recommendation on the cost of the a la carte flag portion to an event?
In terms of the flagpoles and the
If you want
stands.
Versus the
to block,
stuff.
if you want to block, or if you just want 2 flags,
Well,
does staff have a recommendation?
No, I
question
think
is
overall, though, there's like 40 flags if we were to go up and down Water Street. I don't know, it's obviously a fraction if it's just one block, maybe 6 or 8.
Just to clarify, Russ, the question that's in red here is whether special interest can be posted the entire length of Water Street or one block. The 2 flagpoles in front of City Hall are mentioned in the policy as a separate decision.
I get it.
Yeah.
I'm asking if there's an actual quantifiable cost.
To a full street versus a block?
No to anything.
You're talking a cost to the applicant.
Yes.
There's a
So is
special
there an
interest
additional, if you want
application.
flags flown all of Water Street, is there a cost associated with
Yeah,
it?
right now, the special
Yeah.
event application fee is $20.
Right.
So it would make sense to put that application fee for special events. If you have the flag rider or you invoke the flag addendum, then there's
Right.
additional cost, or
Yes.
whatever.
Is there a staff recommendation?
Nope.
Okay. That was my question,
Yeah.
because in the letter, the request said that they would be willing to compensate the city for time.
That's right.
And the discussion that we had a year ago, and also in bringing this draft to you, was that the special event applicant is responsible for purchasing the flags, so there is an incurred cost in order to do this, whether we have a fee or not. Everyone's felt sort of okay either having a fee or not.
I would feel better having a fee.
Okay, so
Voicing my
there's enough discussion.
I think we
I
should.
recommend taking it to the Betterment Committee.
I think we can decide this right now.
We have nothing else on the agenda tonight. Like,
Yep, I mean,
we can come back.
My 2 cents is we spend a lot of money on tourism and marketing the community, and I like flags. I think it adds to the betterment, and if we have events going on, I think it highlights that there are things happening in this town. And so I would recommend if an event gets approved through the proper process and they want to have flags on the entire Water Street, and we have a fee associated to kind of recoup some of those costs, and or if the street department isn't feeling like these additional duties are taking them away from filling the potholes or doing whatever else work that they need to do, then we should promote Decorah and allow flags to fly.
Second.
Was there any changes? It says suggestion is to move it as you received it, move it to approve administrative policy with any changes you recommended by the city council, or send it to a committee. So that motion is,
Is that a motion or just some discussion? Okay.
well, that's what.
I didn't motion, but I can.
Well, then you need to clarify because I didn't write.
I mean, unless you, I don't know, Jeremy, are our current staff able to complete all other duties if they're putting flags up?
Well, I think our concern is we just don't know how many we're going to get. We already have, we're talking 6 to 8 hours for putting up things now. So that's our concern. It's a big, I don't know, we got half a dozen versus 15 now. So I don't know that we know the answer to that. So I think that's why we're looking at more of the one block for the event.
And this is something, if requests are higher than we would be expecting, we could then revisit and then limit it?
You'd have to limit it with some different criteria.
Chad, what if we tied it, sorry,
No, go ahead.
what if we tied the flags in with the amount of street closure that was requested?
It would be the special, that'd be in that special.
Yes.
So that's
And it
just
would
that
make-
block in front of your event type thing,
Right, or if not, it's Nordic Fest, it's
the whole thing.
the whole thing. Or United Way, if they're going to have an event, could have that. Would you be okay with that?
I'm fine with that.
So Chad, just, I'm wondering, in light of what Ross just said, if the decision about a block versus the whole of Water Street could be in the application for the special event rather than in this policy? So we could approve this policy as an and/or, and that could, and then in a year, if we were needing to revisit due to staff time, it would be for a change to the special application, special event application, rather than a revisiting of the entire policy.
Yes.
I think you should put them both into the community betterment and refine them and bring them back at the next meeting.
Well, we have, if he stated a motion,
Yeah.
and if we had a second, as long as we know what the motion is and what's clear. Because we had a motion and a second and a discussion.
Well, I would ask Dan to restate the motion.
Johanna, can you state my motion?
That sounds like
I liked it.
I move the adoption of administrative policy number 1909 with the community-oriented and special interest flags number 4, reading as written with an and/or, and providing direction to staff to place that decision with an appropriate flag fee in the special event application.
Striking the dates up above, too.
Yes, so moving the administrative policy as otherwise edited in front of you.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second.
So just to clarify, administrative policy number 1901, is that what you said?
Yes.
And Hadley seconded?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to clarify and draw the council's attention to page 2, which lists the dates of the U.S. flag. Those were staff proposals there to remove and add, just clarifying that the council...
You said as written.
I know, but we hadn't talked
Including
on that
those
page,
dates.
so I just want to make sure everybody's okay.
Yep.
Draw your attention to that page.
Okay,
Okay?
any further discussion? Roll call?
Okay, Bergen,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel,
No.
Johnson,
Aye.
Bell Richard,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Motion carries. Very good. City manager and department head reports.
Okay, the only thing I have to report is just another update on our open seats on boards and commissions. We are receiving a few applications in, and in consultation with the mayor, I think we'll put those in front of her for review for the next meeting on April 15. But right now, we still have 2 seats open on the tree board, 1 seat open on the airport commission, 1 seat open on Civil Service Commission, and 2 seats open on the Human Rights Commission. That's all I have to report.
Do you have a sequence of how often those meet? So when we talk to people, we could share with them. Are they quarterly?
Yeah, there's most of them are monthly. There is a board list or roster in the Dropbox.
Okay.
That does have a heading that lists what day of the week and how often they meet.
Thank you.
And except for the civil service one, that is according to what as needed.
There are a couple that meet as needed, including the Civil Service. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, department heads.
I'd like to announce that spring is officially here. Campground open.
Good job, Andy.
Yay! Campground open this weekend. Soccer starts Saturday. Easter eggs on Sunday. Seasons have changed.
Like I mentioned the last council meeting, the Department of Natural Resources was here for our 3-year annual inspection of our lifts and wells and storage tanks and everything else. We had no deficiencies whatsoever. We just had a few recommendations from the DNR like they normally do, so we're happy to announce that everything is fine again.
Great.
Kristen, that's
I just want to say the yard waste site is open with our regular hours, Wednesdays 1 to 7 and Saturdays 8 to 2.
National Library Week is next week, so if you have any overdue materials sitting underneath the couch cushions, it's a great time to bring them in, and we'll waive any fines on them next week only. So it's a great opportunity. The theme this year is Libraries Equal Strong Communities, which we hope is true, but we're also using it as an opportunity to reverse, which is that it's really thanks to our great community that we can do all that we do. The next 4 weeks through the month of April, we have over 30 different programs for all ages that highlight partnerships with 11 different community agencies. That's not special for National Library Week. That's just what we do every month. So we're really grateful to all our community partners. We're also very excited that our new HVAC unit is slated for delivery either next week or the week following. So you see a crane hanging out in my parking lot in the middle of the night.
the old one's going to go off the dock? Wow. Anything else from department heads? Council?
Nothing this evening, Mayor.
Nothing for me, Mrs. Mayor.
Nothing at this time, Mayor.
I would hope to bring to the next council meeting 2 resolutions, one of which seeks Decorah to be part of an intervention to the utility board regarding the rate increase. And the second would be a resolution asking that we have the mayor present to the utility board May 2nd at their hearing here.
Nothing that you
I met with Chopper and have been talking to Jeremy about getting together to look at Cartograph, the pavement condition index software, so that we can better track the pavement conditions in town and put together solid budgets based on what the condition of the pavement is and what the restoration options are. I learned today, I had a conference call today learning about environmental impact bonds, which I'll have to read about more, but it's a special bond category that allows you to fund projects at a less than market rate based on the economic impact of whatever you're bonding. So that was interesting. And I'm trying to be more sustainable and not promote or not clog the downtown with a car. So I'm walking to work. But as I walk to work, I'm using Libby, the new app, or not so new app from the library, with a book. So I can get out and listen to my book about Jefferson. So thanks to the library for their cool thing.
Anything else?
And we have a street committee meeting.
Okay.
Nothing, Mayor?
How about up at Luther?
So this weekend at Luther, April 4th through 6th, so Thursday through Saturday, there's going to be interfaith forums. There's going to be faith leaders from across the Midwest that are hosting discussions, workshops, and panels. And also we're going to be having our Student Senate presidential election towards the middle or end of this month. And then after that, we'll have our regular Student Senate elections.
Okay. I've got a couple things. I've been sitting in on the union contract and the negotiation, which has been a good learning experience for myself. That is still ongoing. I was feeling a little like I was getting stuck and in between franchise agreements and alliance, and so I decided that what I really needed to do was get more information on what's going on currently in the city, and I was able to set up an appointment with one of the local alliance people that frequents our meetings quite often, but it was extremely helpful for me to get a better perspective on the things that are going on here. I'd encourage anybody to talk to them. We didn't talk about franchise agreements. We talked about the diligent work that they're doing, but also the fact that it's extremely important for our community, not only for looking forward, but looking at the present. So I'd encourage any of you to take time and go down and visit with them. They've got some exciting things going on. The one thing I did want to do, which was, it's sort of after the fact, that I wanted to acknowledge National Vietnam War Veterans Day, which was actually on March 29th. It was originally set up by President Obama, and President Trump signed into an agreement that March 29th would be the day that it would be observed. But I wanted to make sure and bring that forth. I have friends and family and community people that were involved in that war, and it needs to be acknowledged. Let's see. I think that's, oh, I know. I'm hoping that perhaps by April 15th we could have some information on the RFP concerning the police chief's hiring, either that or at the latest by that first meeting in May. We need to continue to work in gathering information on which direction to go as far as seeking a new police chief. So I think that's all that I have.
Move to adjourn.
Okay. Thank you very much.